Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Welcome back to VALORANT news. Plenty to dive into today, especially with FNS and others suggesting that Sinatraa was the key piece to the Sentinels roster back in 2021, and the team was 45 times worse when he was out of the roster. What does that mean potentially for Sinatra's Challengers team going into the upcoming season, and can they have success in early January? Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Plenty to dive into today as always. Firstly, this from the FNS side, more drama coming out of him, just because we saw yesterday, right, the kind of discussion between FNS and babybay, whether babybay at his current rate will actually be able to get back into the franchise league as he is planning to do, and he mentioned things like, you know what, playing one agent isn't going to work out for you, like, you know, it's basically he's just delusional and pathetic to believe that's going to get him a spot on Sentinels, Evil Geniuses, or 100 Thieves yet again, and even FNS says here, this guy has no clue about the training that I have received, so we'll see about that, and they do also say this in the replies, I'm so sorry bro, I didn't mean any of it. So you know, I highly doubt that FNS actually believes what he says here in the replies. So yeah, maybe these guys are going to screw up in person whenever they see each other next. Pretty interesting stuff for sure. And yeah, babybay obviously not taking kindly to the words from FNS that we saw yesterday. So if there's any more updates on this, I will be keeping you guys updated. Now let's talk about some new lineups here. Of course, because 100 Thieves, they've been killing it lately with this new cryo acquisition. They right now in North America are going to be the strongest team, I would say, and maybe over the coming couple of months things change around as other teams actually start to practice, with artists probably getting to North America in relatively soon, in the next couple of weeks, I think maybe early January, that might finally be happening, and therefore NRG can actually practice, and also Sentinels, I think the Pancada Sassy situation to get them in person is also in progress as well. Now on the other side of the new team discussion is the TSM roster. So last night was the freeze out off-season tournament that the Knights Arena put together, and the Shopify Rebellion, this is pretty much the former LG team, they won the event. Dazzle, Marda, Moose, Vic and B-Dog, they take it down. They took down TSM in the grand finals here. This is one of the moments here from Hazed. Some nice moments here with the Vandal. They actually won this game too, but lost the series 3-1 in the end, TSM. Still a decent result and an impressive one, I thought, from Hazed and the TSM guys to a certain extent, just because their team is relatively new. These the SR guys have been together for a long time now. Like, they're an absolute veteran team that was pretty good even in the tier 1 side. So for this TSM roster to come through, relatively new lineup, and do quite well against them, I thought was quite a good sign for the new TSM team. And I mean, yeah, we'll see. TSM, of course, didn't get their partnership accepted into the partnership league, so we still yet to really find out which non-partner teams will get a buy into the kind of regular challenger stage. So it's the understanding as it stands that we've got 6 teams potentially from the tier 2 region that will get automatically guaranteed a spot through to the Challengers League, and the other teams will have to qualify. So you can bet your bottom dollar that Sinatra's team is not going to get this automatic spot through the Challengers. They're going to have to go through the open qualifiers. G2, we guess probably right, so you know what, fair enough, we'll get you in for free because, you know, you've supported, you were close enough to getting into partnerships, or maybe they won't, right, who knows. And a team like TSM you'd think would be in a similar boat to them, but also you've got, you know, the Guards, you've got FaZe, these other teams that probably, right, will say, yeah, okay, you can have a free pass given what you've done and the team you've built to the Challengers ecosystem, and then the rest of the teams will have to qualify through the open qualifiers. So TSM go down, they obviously come second in this tournament, but a pretty good result. You know, there's some other obviously notable North American teams here, the XOR team, Oxygen, Moon Raccoons, Nearest Airport, Virtuoso, Sonics as well, their team. So for TSM to come straight in here with a relatively new team, make the grand finals, a reasonably impressive result. Corey went plus 10, kind of an off series here for 7, surprisingly to a certain extent, but he's in all sorts of different agents now, and without you know, Chamber being the dominant force that he has been, and we see even on the SR side, no Chamber at all over the 4 maps of play, no Chamber being utilized. Moose on the Cypher here, right, from a Sentinel perspective, it's kind of a confusing one what they were planning to do, but they had many different options. They even brought Harbor out from a controller perspective here from B-Dog, which is a very controversial decision right now, but yeah, what do you guys think about that in the comments section below? Now let's talk about this Sinatraa stuff then, of course, because going into the new season, Sinatraa is intending to compete, but doesn't necessarily have the roster that maybe he'd want to have, or that he thinks, as we've seen over the last few weeks, he can achieve great success with. But people have still been singing his praises over the last few weeks and suggesting here, FNS and co, that pretty much he was the best player in the world on that Sentinels team at the time when they were so good online before everything then kicked off, and suggesting that you know, it was such a crucial component of that team, and ever since he left, they went downhill massively. So yeah, definitely saying in terms of his peak performance level, Sinatraa, he has something left to give.
Oh, kiss on Every final, I'm against Sentinels at the end. Like, what? Sinatraa in his absolute prime form.
Are coaches allowed to talk between
Mike, without Sinatraa, your team is 45 times worse. I said it.
Without Jay,
Well, did you have
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was your best player
wait,
by far.
Don't tell me this. Like every time anybody ever asks me, Jay is my best teammate I've ever had.
Right. As long as we're on the same page. As long as
really was
you know,
Jay actually
you know, for me, I know a player is good when it's easier to tell when a player is good when you play against them as opposed to when you play with them. Like it's more.
I kind of disagree.
No. Listen. I'll explain. I don't mean like his comms and stuff like that, right? That's obviously it's easier to tell if someone's like a really good player. I mean like if someone's hard as to kill just based off their mechanics alone, and the way they play is like max intelligence, like they still play smart even though they look like idiots. That for me is like I can already tell the way he plays is so like I know he's a good player just based off how he plays. He's the best. He only rifled. But I'm saying like yeah, he only rifled and then he used the correct guns at the correct times and made almost the correct play every time and never baited.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm telling you, Jay. Like,
you guys have to understand for a player that never baits.
Saying it like this dude was like godly talented.
Wait, why am I glazing Sinatraa right now?
I can't wait to see his debut in Ascension.
We talked about first strikes and you started talking about.
No, it's because I specifically remember how he on split with that double satchel out heaven.
Double satchel out heaven. It's so funny that you mentioned. I talk about that sometimes.
I can't wait to see his debut.
There is only there's one player in the whole world that will make that play ever, and that is him.
No, I did think interesting statements there, because of course after Sinatraa was removed from the team, it wasn't too long after they actually went to LAN and won without Sinatraa on the team, right, when of course this team was put together on screen and Masters 2 in Reykjavik. So yeah, what do you guys think about this? Definitely an interesting conversation that those guys had, and also some nice highlights there from Sinatraa as well. But going into the new season, he will be playing with this lineup. I don't believe I know their fifth as it stands. There's some kind of controversy about what exactly is happening with this roster, because Sinatraa said in the past to Shanks and Co that yeah, if you guys know who their fifth is, let me know in the comment section below. But as it stands, like Sinatraa hasn't been so confident that this team's going to do anything of note. And yeah, just like with these guys saying that Sinatraa is basically the best player in North America, or at least was the best player and still has that potential to be, the fact that he's playing with this team in tier 2 won't get the automatic qualification for challenges. Like, it would be nice to see if this team qualified, but you've got to think that it's so competitive down there for these squads that are going to try and make it through. Stewie 2K's team, they're not going to get an automatic buy. Toast Esports, whoever that's going to be with Steel, they don't get an automatic buy. So, you know, what do you guys expect to happen here? Can Sinatraa just put this team on his back completely and take them all the way? Maybe, maybe not. But it is a key storyline to follow going into the new season, and January the 9th, I believe, is the date that's going around in my head in terms of when the qualifiers begin for the tier 2 circuits that Sinatraa and Co will try and make it through to. Now, we saw Harbour a couple of minutes ago there, you being used by B-Dog. Now, Chet reckons, maybe he's just speaking this into existence to a certain extent, but maybe Harbour is going to dominate 2023. So there is lots of talk about this lately, because Harbour, the new agent, we usually see when new agents arrive, like, you know, we usually see them do rather well initially. I mean, Harbour is obviously can be used relatively well. Examples like this are a pretty good example of this curved wall that can be used quite effectively. Now, Chet reckons, you know, Harbour's going to dominate and is going to be the go-to agent. Now, Daps actually reckons it, head coach for the Liquid CSGO, baiting teams to play him. He's probably trash, respects Chet. What do you mean by that? Saying that he actually doesn't believe he's that good, but reckons that, you know what, maybe you can bait some other teams into it. But we do usually see, and even as Chet says here, when Neon came out, she wasn't really used at all, and Harbour obviously hasn't really been used at all so far. Chamber was pretty much great from the off, and most of the new agents that have been added in, like even Fade, she's used, you know, 50% of maps, it seems, at this point, in terms of, well, she got nerfed a bit recently, to be fair, but, you know, she was used like that going into, let's say, the World Championship in 2022. So, do you guys think that Harbour's going to make a comeback? I definitely do feel like Riot will do what they can to make Harbour relevant, and Chet believes that maybe there is, of course, Coach MLRG, some potential there for Harbour to be a dominant agent going into the new year and kind of replace Astra, and where Astra was a couple of, well, kind of acts ago, I suppose. So right now, I'm not necessarily sold, but, you know, I do think that Neon initially, like, people didn't understand how to use Neon well, and all of a sudden, Neon Leon, like, is not exactly a go-to agent as it stands, but is nonetheless a pretty powerful one. And of course, Victor from OpTic and other teams did, you know, even Forsaken, right, and the Paper X guys did utilize that to some good effect, right? The Neon, once people understood actually how to use it to great effect. So definitely intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments section below. And just to close out with this here from Worldminder, the NA all VCT second team with what is effectively the second best players in each of their respective roles. Asuna on the flex, Trent on the initiator, Bang on the controller, Cryo as the operator, and then Jorgema as the duelist. This is a very interesting team because it's rather similar in many ways to the 100 Thieves lineup right now, but with no Stella and no Derek, but instead Trent and Jorgemo in the team. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you are new as always, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.